Hey guys, what's up? Today I have a deck profile that I'm very excited to be bringing to you guys. It is of my Dragunity deck. Real quick, I am going to put a timestamp somewhere on the video right now because there are some things I want to talk to you guys about this deck and about this deck profile, I guess. I'll get that out of the way, but yeah, if you guys just want to skip ahead to my justifications of my card choices, I guess I'll say, just go to the time and the timestamp. Because if you guys are just here for the cards, that's why I kind of do this whole skimming through in the beginning, because I understand that some people just really want to see the cards I'm using, and maybe that'll be it. They don't really care to hear why I'm not using this over this. They just want to see, okay, they saw the cards in action, now they just want to see what the deck itself is, so that's why I just skim through it for you guys, for those guys who just want to see the deck itself. As for what I want to talk about, I just want to kind of say two things. First, the reason I really bothered with Dragunities is because it is it's basically my deck. I'm not trying to say that, I created Dragunities, obviously. I'm not trying to say that I was the best with Dragunities, but this was the deck that brought me back into Yu-Gi-Oh! After, wow, I don't even know, like a lot of years off. To put it in perspective, the last time I played before I picked it up again was back in elementary school. And I just started playing sometime last year, sometime during my sophomore year of college, so that's a big gap, at least 8 years. So this was a deck that brought me back to the game, so it is obviously near and dear to my heart. It was one of my better decks, like one of the better decks I played, or one of the decks that I played best with, if not the deck I played the best with, and it is my favorite deck of all time. So when Ravine got hit, a lot of people, myself included, said that the deck was dead, but I'll get to that in a sec. But I knew I needed to play around with it and trying to get a somewhat viable build, and this is where I'm at right now. The second thing I want to talk about is the deck. When the ban list was revealed, a lot of people said that the deck was dead, myself included, and that statement is, it's kind of true, but it's kind of false. The fun deck, the deck that everyone was kind of up in arms about, why would you touch Dragunities, they weren't really that good, why would you hit Ravine, yada yada. The people who had fun with the deck, the people like myself who really just love the deck, as a casual deck, I guess I'll say, that deck is not dead. As you guys have seen in this video, or in the past video I guess, as you guys can see by searching a lot of other people on YouTube, there are people who can make this deck work. There are people who are still trying to find the best build for this deck in its current state. So that deck, the fun deck, is not dead by any means. And honestly, I know that Ravine getting hit was, all in all, not a bad thing, but it hurt Dragunity players. But I think this is actually a really good time to be a Dragunity player, because beforehand, when Ravine was at 3, everyone basically ran 6 Ravines, 3 Ravines and 3 terraformings. Some people didn't run the terraformings, but that's not for this video anyway. Everyone had the same basic plan with Dragunities. Now, you're seeing all these hybrids. You're seeing Hieratic Dragunities, you're seeing Harpy Dragunities, you're seeing Blackwing Dragunities, you're seeing you're seeing Quasar Dragunities. I've seen videos with people pull Quasar out there, but I don't know how they do it. But it's a really cool time to be a Dragunity player, because you have all these options to test to see, which deck you like better than the other, which one is your favorite build, can I create a new build that no one has created yet. So it's a really fun time to be a Dragunity player right now, especially if you like testing decks like I do. I think testing decks is the most fun, that's how I have the most fun in Yu-Gi-Oh! So, the straight week I had of just playtesting nothing but Dragunities was a really fun time. I will admit I am a little burnt out from playing it, that much, but it's really fun to be a casual Dragunity player, someone who loves the deck for what it is and just trying to find the best build. As for the competitive deck, I honestly do feel that that deck is dead, because Ravine gave something to this deck that a competitive deck needs. It gave it consistency. You can, again, going back to this build can have stupid plays. You can put the game on the board like nothing, but if that gets stopped, then you are in a very bad spot. You probably wasted all the cards in your hand, and you're in a really shitty position. With the old deck, with Ravine, as long as you had Ravine on the field, you technically could top deck exactly what you needed. Obviously, you couldn't do that with spells, but as long as you still had ducks in the deck, and a Phalanx in the grave, you had a lot of plays. You had whatever level 8 single your heart desired, and there were a lot of things you could have done. Obviously, you don't have that luxury anymore, which is why I think that the competitive deck is more or less, gone right now. I'm not saying that you can't try it competitively, but just know that this deck, like this particular build, like I said, there are other builds out there that if you like Dragunities, I highly suggest you go look up those. I'm actually going to put a link in the description to the videos that I looked at for inspiration, or maybe I'll just link to people's channels because there are like some really good Dragunity players here on YouTube. Anyway, with all that being said, let's get into the deck profile. So first off, we have one Dragunity Atlas. Atlas is really just here to combo for things like Legionnaire and Vajrayana. He gets to pop things. That's really his main purpose in this deck. He does have another ability, which is basically a special summoning ability, but it works better with other cards that are not in this deck, but I'll get to that when I get to those cards. Next, we have one Dragunity Legionnaire. Legionnaire is basically just here to combo off the Atlas. He can combo with Phalanx and go into things like Catastor and Armades if you choose to run him, and other level 5 synchros. But again, his main purpose in this particular build is to just get Atlas, pop things, or pop 2 things technically, and go into the Catastor when there's a monster I just can't deal with otherwise. Next up, we have 2 Mistletoe. Mistletoe has really become like the most important card in the main deck for me personally. Obviously, Ducks and Phalanx are huge for this deck and they don't work without them, but Mistletoe is really like the driving force at this point. It opens up so many combos. It's a level 6, so easy access to your level 8 synchros and your rank 6 XYZs, and it's fairly easy to get out. It's searchable, which is the reason to me it's kind of become more important than Ducks. Like, don't get me wrong, Ducks is huge. It's like everyone knows what Ducks does. It's basically how you start everything. But one thing that Mistletoe has that Ducks doesn't have is that Mistletoe is searchable, and I really can't stress how important that is for this deck to have something this important, being searched out. When Ravine was around, yes, Ducks was searchable, which is why he was, in my mind, the most important card. But now with Ravine gone, you can't really search Ducks, but you can search Mistletoe off of Tempest when it's banished, and it's just really like, it's very good, and it's really like the most important card in this deck in my opinion. The only reason I'm not running 3 is because I've tried running 3, but I never really needed the third one. I always ended up using 2 max, and deck space is really tight, so I just dropped the third one in order to play something else in. Next up, we have 3 Ducks. I mean, I don't really need to explain. Like I said, he used to be, or in my opinion, he used to be the most important card. He still is a very, very, very important card. He's just very good and is really self-explanatory. 3 Phalanx, he is in the same boat as Ducks. He is very important to this deck. For those of you who don't know what Phalanx does, basically when he is equipped, he can special summon himself, and just, yeah, that's all you need to know. He's very good. Next up, 1 Red MD. Red Eyes is really, it's a dragon deck, so just makes sense to put him in there. Also, he's part of the main combo of this deck. You get him out using a Tum, bounce him back, or you get him back with a Tum, you special summon a dragon, bounce him back with Zephyros, special summon him again, and it's just really like being able to do what you can do with the Red Eyes is kind of stupid, but it's really like a big card in this deck. Next up, 1 Tempest. Tempest is really just here for search power. It's not that I never use his special summoning effect, but it's just that I'd rather have him in the grave to abuse Garuda. I'd rather have him in the hand to send something like Atlas, Phalanx, like things like that. I'd rather send them to the grave to pull a Mistletoe or a Phalanx or something to my hand. So really, he's just here to act as a searcher. Next up, we have 1 Blackwing Zephyros the Elite. Just a good card. Bounces back your Red Eyes when it's summoned by a Tum. Bounces back other cards that, just laying around on the field. It is a wing beast, so you can use Atlas and Phalanx to go into your level 6 synchros, and it's just a solid card to have. Next up, 2 Garuda. Now, Garuda's like an interesting story for me. Like, I never used Garuda before this ban list. I know that a lot of other Dragunity players did, because it does abuse Tempest. Like, it really abuses Tempest. Most people run 1, I guess, because 1 is really all you need. I just like running 2 because if that first one is meant to be a part of a big combo, like the combo of this deck, which I'll explain in a bit. But then the second one's just nice to have because then you do have access to synchros later on. You do have access to Zerofine, which I love. Like the rank 4s, well, I'll get into them in a bit, but just having the second Garuda means that you have access to those rank 4s, because if your first one is part of the combo, he's gone. Like, you can't really get him back unless you use M7 on him, but I don't really think you would do that. So the second one allows you to go into the rank 4s later down the road, go into a level 6 synchro later down the road if like your big push got stopped. So yeah, 2 I really like. Some people run 3. I mean, I guess you could try it. I'm definitely going to drop some cards in here because they haven't really been pulling their weight, I guess I'll say. So maybe that new spot will be for third Garuda. He's a very good card, and you should definitely use him at, well, whatever you feel comfortable with. Next up, 1 Mist Valley Baby Rock. Now this card, like on paper, to me on paper it looks like a very solid card. Like, you use what's it called, Guide to add this to your hand, send it to the graveyard, or add, let's say, a Dux to your hand, and then send this to the graveyard. Then you get a free special summon, and then you go into a level 8 synchro. So basically what you did right there is you took Guide, you added the Dux that you needed, then you also got a level 8 synchro out of it. Sounds pretty good. But the thing is, like, this guy is more often than not just kind of dead in the field. Like, it's not a bad card, but it's just that I'm definitely considering dropping it, because more often than not, just kind of sitting out there not really doing anything, or like I'd rather use that Guide effect is usually how I get him on the field, and I would rather use that to search a Zephyros. And honestly, Guide doesn't stay on the field usually for more than 1 turn, and if he's not on the field, I don't usually have a way of dumping this card from my hand to the graveyard. And really, that's the only purpose it has, is to go from my hand to the graveyard, special summon itself, and then go into a level 8 synchro. It does happen a decent amount of times, but honestly not as often as you would think. So this card is definitely like kind of on the fence. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Next up, we have 1 Wattel Dragon and 1 Labradorite Dragon. These cards are only here because of the Hieratic Engine, which, I mean, you see it right there. We'll get into in a sec. They're the next cards, but they are level 6s, so they already have some form of synergy with the deck, because again, the rank 6s are amazing in this deck, and the level 8 synchros are, you know, huge for the deck, and you know, having these on the field help you go into both. Well, not so much Labradorite because it is a tuner, but anyway, we'll get into that in a sec. But yeah, these two, when you tribute a Hieratic card, you get to special summon these guys from your hand, deck, or graveyard. And just, you know, getting them out of the deck is great. Like, you can also Dragon Shrine 1 into the grave and then dump Tempest or Phalanx, or, you know, whatever you need. So it's acting like a double Foolish Burial thanks to these guys, so it makes Shrine that much better in the deck. So they do have their purposes, and also they help Light Pulsar, which I know some people are looking at Light Pulsar like, why the hell are you running that? But I'll get to that in a sec. Next up, we have 2 Tefnuits. Tefnuit is actually a very solid card. It's basically like it has a Cyber Dragon-esque effect. Basically, when your opponent has a monster and you have no monsters, you get to special summon this card from your hand. And it's honestly surprising how often I do have monsters to use it as tribute material for. Like, it's surprising how often I'll have a Mistletoe, or how often I'll have a Light Pulsar, or even one of these 2 vanilla cards. Like, it's fairly easy to get its effect off, and once its effect goes off, you get an Atum on the field, and hopefully you have a Zephyros in grave, so you can special summon Red Eyes off of Atum, and it really sets up plays that like, let's just say I'm very happy that I found the Hieratic Engine. Well, it's not that I found, it's just that I found a video with someone using Hieratics, and yeah, we'll move on to the next card. Next up, we have 2 Light Pulsar Dragons. Light Pulsar Dragon, I understand it looks like a weird card, like, believe me, I get that, but hear me out. First off, it's a level 6, so it has synergy with the deck right there, because like I said, with other cards, like the rank 6 are very powerful in this deck, the level 8 synchros are very powerful in this deck, and with this card being a level 6, it's, you know, great. Second, it also can use Tefnuit as tribute fodder, or tribute material, I guess, so that just opens up an Atum play right there. Third, it can recycle your Red Eyes if you need it. Like, if your Red Eyes is in the grave and you summon this guy, let's say your opponent has a Mirror Force or something, like, they're going to, you know, think twice about actually using it, because once this guy gets destroyed, you get a Red Eyes on the field, and once Red Eyes hits the field, you get to special summon something else out. So it's really good for, you know, for me personally. Like, also, I know this is kind of a little weird, but when I first built Dragunities, it was like a Chaos variant. So I just kind of lean towards this whole Chaos variant, which is why Light Pulsar is here. Also, it makes use of your dead Tefnuits in the grave, your dead Zephyros, you know, if you've already used this effect, just to get the special summon level 6 out of your hand. And one effect that I haven't really used, I think I've used it once in the whole time I've been using this deck. Like if you have a Zephyros in your hand and let's say a Wattel Dragon in your hand, they're not doing anything. You don't really, well, it's not that you don't want them at the field, but it's like you'd rather have them in your grave than in your hand, and you have a Light Pulsar in your grave. You can ditch those two cards, get them in the hand, or get them in the grave where they do more for you, and then you can special summon a 2500 beater, a level 6 2500 beater, and again level 6, good synergy with the deck. So I honestly do think this is a good card for this build. If for whatever reason I drop the Heretic Engine, Light Pulsar really loses its value in this deck. So if you decide to go with the Heretic Engine, I highly suggest at least trying Light Pulsar out. If you don't like it, that's completely understandable, but at least give it a shot, see if it works for you. So now we're going to move on to the spells. I just took a look at the time, and this is taking a lot longer than I wanted to, so I'm just going to breeze through the spells. Most of it is just draw power and search power, so most of it is self-explanatory, but again, I will just, anyway, let's just get into it. 2 instant fusions. This is to bring out Marvelous, and Marvelous surprisingly is actually used a lot in this deck, a lot in the combos, just because bringing out a Winged Beast, you don't have to have the Ducks in hand, you don't have to have Garuda, you don't have to have Zephyros. Just being able to pull it out of your extra deck is really good. 2 Heretic Seals of Convocation. Again, it searches out Tefnuit, which gets the whole Heretic Engine going, so just having 2 is a solid card. I wouldn't really run 3 because I think it would just be too much for this deck. 1 Quill Pen of Goldos. This is basically like a compulse for anything, like you can bounce back spells and traps as well, and it also helps you recycle things such as like maybe you want to get your Tempest back in the deck so you can use Gold Sark to get the search off. Maybe you want to get Mist Valley Baby Rock, put it back in the deck, use the whole Guidearg thing, and so it is versatile and it does help. So yeah, 2 cards of Consonance, just draw power. It helps dump your Phalanx, your Atlas, and it actually helps with a Labradorite Dragon as well. Next up, 2 Dragon Shrines. It's basically a themed Foolish Burial for, themed for dragons anyway. So it just helps dump the things that you want in your grave, it gets them out of your deck and puts them right in the grave. 2 upstarts, just draw power. Giving your opponent 1000 isn't the worst thing, and it just helps you get to your combo pieces faster. 2 Dark World Dealings. This card I'm kind of on the fence about. Yes, it does allow you to draw, and it does help you set up your grave, but it also allows your opponent to draw and set up their grave. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword, but it's worked out so far. Next, 1 Gold Sark. Really the reason it's here is just for Tempest. Tempest, you banish Tempest, get search off, go from there, and then 2 turns later you get Tempest in your hand, and then you can search again with Tempest. So that's really, it's mainly here for Tempest, but it can also grab whatever else you need at the moment. 1 Foolish Burial, just dump your Zephyros, your Tempest, your Atlas, your Phalanx, just dump whatever you want into your grave. 1 Book of Moon, stable, and then 2 Royal Decrees. This deck is very fragile. It is explosive, but it is very fragile. If your opponent stops your big push, you're kind of dead in the water. So that's where this, Royal Decree tries to remedy that. They basically try to flip it up before your opponent gets a chance to torrential, mirror force, all that good stuff. So at least you are in a good position, and you don't have to worry about the back row unless, of course, they MST it or something along those lines. Now moving to the extra deck, we have 1 Marvelous. Instant fusion target, the only one in this deck. Winged Beast, so it helps go into your level 6 synchros, helps you go into Xeraphine, which is huge, and yeah, just solid. 1 Crimson Blader. Crimson Blader, it's not as important this format, I guess, but it's always nice to have if you ever go up against Dragon Rulers, because they are still a thing. If you ever go up against Mermails, it's just nice to drop on them. Next, 1 Scrap Dragon. Just you get to destroy things. Combo him off with Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. You get to destroy 2 things every turn, or combo them off with Stardust Radiance, and you get a free free pop every turn. 1 Stardust. Like I said, this deck is pretty fragile, so things like Mirror Force and Torrential do hurt. So that's why you try and get Stardust on board as soon as possible. Stardust Spark Dragon. Really, he's here for Royal Decree. Like I said, you don't want your Royal Decree getting MST'd. So if you ever have like a play early on in the game to go into 1 level 8 synchro and you have Royal Decree set, I say go and start a Spark Dragon, because you'll be able to protect your Royal Decree, and you also have a 2500 monster on the field, so it's just solid. Next, 1 Guidearg. Guidearg, honestly, I never used to use. He was always in the deck just because, I guess, but using him now, being able to search and dump your Zephyros, being able to search one of your Wing Beast, and then being able to dump something else out of your hand, like maybe you dump a Phalanx, maybe you dump a Atlas, you know, dump whatever you need. And also the whole Mist Valley Baby Rock thing if you choose to do that. Like, just having him is nice. Obviously he is a level 6, so it opens up plays for your rank 6. 3 Vajrayana, I don't really think I need to explain. He's really just here to, you know, combo off with Ducks and go into, combo off with Phalanx, sorry, and go into level 8s. He's here to go into rank 6s, and he's just a solid card. Also, he combos off well with Atlas. When you equip Atlas to this guy and then you use this guy's effect, he will double his attack, so he'll become a 30-100 beater, and then Atlas will affect and you get to destroy one thing on your opponent's field. So overall, it is a very solid card to have. To round out the synchros, we have one Catastor, and I mean just here to help get over problem cards. Now getting to the XYZs, we have one M7. M7 is really just here to help start loops. Basically, his main target is Mistletoe. One thing that I like to do is very simple. If you have a Dux and Mistletoe in hand and a Phalanx engraved, you can end your turn with an M7 and a Stardust of your choice, or any rank 8 really, on the board. And that's not the, you know, it's not the worst thing to be facing now, but it is a somewhat scary field if you're not ready for it. Next one, Photon Strike Bouncer. I mean, it's just effect negation. Nice to have. Next up, one Queen Dragon Jin. I honestly don't know how I feel about this card. Yes, like, it is a dragon deck, so it should be a very good card in this deck, but the thing with me is that whenever I have two level 4s to use as material, it's usually like something went wrong, so it's like the end of my, you know, combo, if you want to call it that. So basically what I'm trying to say is, yes, I will be able to pull a Red Eyes Darkness Metal, yes, I'll be able to pull a Light Pulsar, but I won't really be able to do anything with them for the rest of that turn. So it's not like I can pull a Light Pulsar, then somehow get another level 6 on the board, and then go into a rank 6. That is a good strategy, and that's good in theory, but just the way I play this deck, it really doesn't happen. So I'm not trying to discourage people from playing this. It is a very solid card, but just for me, I'm probably going to drop it because, well, I guess it's just I don't know how to use it right. I know that sounds weird, but anyway, next we have one Atum. Just sets up plays, easy to, you know, he's fairly easy to make, and he's just a big part of the main combo of this deck, which I'll try and talk about at the end. Finally, we have one Ice Beast Zerofine. Zerofine is just an amazing card, easy to make in this deck, and if you have a deck that can make this, I like put it in the deck. It's a very solid card, very powerful card. So next, I'm just going to breeze through the side deck cards and explain why I want to try them out. First, we have Dragunity Arma Leviathan, and really the only reason I want to try them out is because of Trident Dragon. I really do like that card, and basically, to meet this guy's requirements, special summon, it's fairly easy, and then obviously you just equip, when he's special summon, you just equip Phalanx, summon Phalanx, and then you have a Trident Dragon right there. I just like Trident Dragon, so that's my own little obsession, I guess. But yeah, just a solid card. Or he appears like he'll be a fun card to use. Dragunity Primus Pilus. This card is weird. It's just that it allows you to add a Phalanx from your deck to your, add the Phalanx from your deck to this guy. You know, he'll equip it straight from your deck, so just it helps get things out on the field. Next up, we have one Dragunity Milotum. Basically, this card can have a Phalanx-esque effect on other cards, if that makes any sense. Like, if you have a Dragunity card in your spell and trap card zone, you can special summon it. So it's interesting, and I can see how people would use it. Like, this opens up plays for your level 5 synchros and level 7 synchros, which is something that this deck really can't do in its current state. So it is an interesting card, but as of right now, this deck, really the only card I have in my spell and trap card zone, or at least the only Dragunity monster I have in my spell and trap card zone, is usually Phalanx, and I don't really need Milotum to do Phalanx's job when I have Phalanx in the spell and trap card zone. Next, you have Dragon Mastery, which is another card that, you know, again is interesting, but I feel like it is a little too situational. I feel like it can combo off well with Milotum. Like, let's say you have Milotum on the field, you activate this card to equip some other Dragunity tuner. I know that there are others, like Dragunity Darkspear, I'm pretty sure is one. It's level 3, so you can go into level 7s, because again, once you equip it, you can use Milotum's effect to special summon it, and I feel like it can work, but at the same time, it is a little too situational for my liking. I will definitely get around to testing this, because I do want to play around with like a pure Dragunity build. That's not really something I want to explain right now. But yeah, anyway, next up is Revolved Chain. Basically, the reason I don't have a revolved chain in right now is because I always think of a revolved chain as like a monster version of Foolish Burial, if that makes any sense. And this deck can already put Phalanx in the grave, Tempest in the grave, and Zephyrs in the grave with really no problem, so I never thought chain was like that important. But then someone reminded me that you can also put cards on top of your deck, which is a way to get ducks on top of your deck. Again, my biggest problem with ducks, or not my problem with ducks, but the biggest flaw with ducks, or the biggest weakness, is that he's not searchable. This kind of remedies that, because you know you're going to draw into a ducks next turn, so it is definitely an interesting card and something that I definitely will try out. So for these next 4, they're not like individual cards I want to try, they're more or less engines I want to try. The first engine being the Heartbeat Answer Mist Valley engine. Now, I've tried this deck before and I didn't really know what it wanted to do, which is why I kind of stopped playing it. Like, I could spam the field with level 4s and, therefore make rank 4s, but that's all I really could do. It kind of lost that Dragunity feel, or at least that's how I felt. And if I wanted to make a rank 4 spam deck, I could make a rank 4 spam deck that would work a lot better than this deck did. So I don't really know what it's trying to do. If I knew how to play it, I'm sure like it would be more enjoyable, because I know some people play the deck with great success, or at least that's what they're saying, and they really enjoy the deck. But for me personally, I don't really see it right now. I will definitely pick it up again and try it out. And also, one problem that I did have with the deck, and one problem that I still have with the deck, is that it really relies on a field spell that's at 1. So I don't really know how much I trust that. And lastly, we have a Blackwing engine. I've actually made a Blackwing Dragunity deck, and it's either really good or really bad. There's no in between. And I know this is going to sound obvious, but I feel like if the deck had Ravine, it would be actually decent, because you could pitch a Blackwing card, so maybe you send Zephyrs to the grave, or really just any Blackwing card you're playing, to grab a duck. So basically what you just did was you search ducks, hopefully have Phalanx in grave, and you also made Blizzard live, which is a pretty good thing to do in one turn. And so again, to just recap, in one turn you made Blizzard live, so you can go into your synchros with your Blackwing engine, and you also grab ducks, so you can go into synchros with your Dragunity engine, and you're kind of firing off on all sides. And like the way that I want the deck to work is you kind of get your field presence with, or it's not you get your field presence, but you kind of control everything with the Dragunity engine, and you put things like Scrap Dragon, Stardust, like you put those on the board, and then you just start swarming the field with Blackwings. And I feel like it could be really good, but it is something that I do need to test, keep testing. Anyways, so that's the end of the video. If you made it this long, thank you for sticking through it. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you learned something, I guess. Also, again, if you are here, I just want to direct your attention to the description of this video. I made a DevPro puzzle, I guess I'll say, where I basically put you in my shoes. It's a duel that was not in the showcase, that I had recorded and was originally going to be in it, but maybe I had a better duel. Maybe my opponent misplayed a lot, maybe I misplayed a lot, so for whatever reason I decided not to put it in there. But nonetheless, like, I do have, like, it's an OTK puzzle. Basically you have to win that turn. I give you my exact hand, I put all the cards in the deck, so it's not like, oh well, I know I need this and this, because those are the only cards in the deck. I have all the cards in there, so you do need to figure out like, oh, okay, I want to dump this with Foolish Burial, or dump this with Dragon Shine, or search this with Tempest, etc, etc. So I'm not gonna lie, I played the puzzle myself, and I found 3 different strategies and they're not completely different, but there are somewhat different ways to win. So it's not just like, oh well, you have to do it my way to win. There are a lot of options, which is another reason I actually do like this deck. Like, I will say that, oh, I usually gravitate towards this one strategy every single time, but it is always a little bit different, which is kind of cool. Anyway, so hopefully you guys check that out. Also down in the description I should have links to the people's channels who gave me inspiration, I guess I'll say, and also like the music choices and all that good stuff, as always. So yeah, pretty sure that's it. If I forgot anything, I'll be sure to leave an annotation somewhere. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll talk to you next time. Later, guys.